Good morning, everyone. I am Dante Ang, Chairman and CEO of the Manila Times. Welcome to today's Roundtable. We have as our guest today the spokesperson of the Bureau of Customs, Assistant Commissioner Vincent Maronilla. Good morning, sir.
Well, we're having a pretty good 2021. No? We're very near hitting our annual target. The Port of Manila is one of the top 3 major ports namin. Last December 14 has already hit its annual target. No? That's the first time, I think, in more than a decade. I think 15 years nga yata last time na na-hit niya yung target niya. No?
Wow, congratulations.
For the Port of Manila. No? MICP is doing well, Batangas is doing well, and the whole Bureau, I think, in terms of collection is doing well. We're set to hit the target again for the 2nd consecutive year. No? Even if it's a pandemic, there's a pandemic. And I think we're hoping to have a bigger surplus this time around compared to last year. We've also implemented a lot of projects, a lot of modernization projects for the Bureau. This year, we call it another avenue for the National Single Window, no? Which is headed by the Department of Finance, called the TradeNet project. So the TradeNet has already been launched, and a number of agencies have already joined in. No? So we're hoping that to sustain this momentum and carry it on till next year, and hopefully more and more agencies jump into the TradeNet project. So we'll have a very clear and very effective single window. That means that all government agencies that regulates importations will have to submit yung mga permits nila in a single window platform. Hindi na kailangan mag-manual, punta pa dito, i-email pa, or whatever. Na-review na lang namin, doon na rin namin. So contactless yun, ma-review namin. Security-wise, mas okay siya. Verification-wise, mas okay siya. Of course, trade facilitation-wise, sobrang mas mabilis yun. We've launched the Philippine Customs Modernization Project together with the World Bank. This is a World Bank funded project. No? It comes from a loan coming from the World Bank of about $84 million US dollars. So the first phase of this modernization will actually comprise of the modernization of the customs processing system. So we hope to do away with the current computer system that we're using, modernize it to a modern processing system that will allow us also to interconnect with other customs administration, because mainly naman ang trabaho namin is to facilitate trade. And at the same time, of course, border protection and may revenue collection pa rin naman tayo dyan. Tayo pa rin isa dun sa mga bansang who focuses on revenue collection also. And I think having a modern customs processing system that's going to respond to the modern trading environment is very critical for us. Tapos magkakaroon kami ng remote image analysis center that will now allow more transparency dun sa mga X-ray images natin. Magkakaroon ng central offices sa Visayas and in Luzon that will allow all images of our X-ray to be analyzed and observed in those remote image analysis centers. Parang base center siya for X-rays. We're hoping to finish, of course, the substantial portion of the critical portions of this modernization project. We're hoping to finish by 2022. Of course, the entire project, I think, will be finished by 2025, hopefully, no, or earlier than that. But at least yung foundation niya, no, yung very critical foundation niya, mas set up na namin by 2022. Anti-smuggling efforts has been up, and then there was a positive response also from our stakeholders. I think our only issue there is to explain now to the people and to other government agencies and our stakeholders why there's a shift to a double method of actually doing our border protection function. No? When I
Mhm.
speak of dual method, it means that hinihigpitan namin dito sa mga puerto natin, but we cannot expect to actually guard all shipments at the port, at the level of clearance at the port. Why? Because modern customs techniques and even other modern customs administration rely on a risk approach, a risk management approach into clearing goods. That means that meron mga certain risk na kinakailangan mong i-take, no? For us to be able to balance out trade facilitation and border protection. Now, to be able to mitigate those risks at hindi tayo delikado, ang ina-apply talaga din ng ibang mga customs administration is to actually operate at the outside. Verify warehouses that are selling or keeping imported goods, just for the purpose of looking at compliance, no? Ganun na rin yung approach na tinake namin. Let's say for example, the United States, di ba? I think the US has one of the most modern customs administration border protection detection techniques, no? And yet very recently sumabog din sa kanila yung paglusot sa kanila ng mga Korean waste, no? Because of, but we don't it doesn't mean that their border protection capabilities and their border protection programs is a failure. It just means that really smuggling of these kinds is a global concern, and the best way to answer this is to also have the presence of your customs and border patrols, not just within the borders but also outside of the borders, to make sure na walang nakakalusot sa inyo, no? So kung makalusot man, in a day or two, you'll be able to catch up to them. So yun, maayos naman yung programa namin, save for some, of course, questions that we were asked to answer. And I think the commissioner, during several briefings, have also answered this. We've gone through, during 2020 and 2021, we've moved forward with our journey dun sa performance governance system namin, no? Or with the Institute of Solidarity Asia. Now, the PGS is akin to an ISO certification, which is being handled by a private sector organization called the Institute of Solidarity Asia. This is headed by Secretary Jesse Stanislao, former Secretary Jesse Stanislao, and his group. And this is composed of diverse individuals coming from all sectors, no? Just very recently, our Revalida for the proficiency stage, the panel was composed of even Mr. Gil Luz of the Makati Business Club. So it's really a diverse set of individuals that the goal is to actually promote good governance and a more transparent, consistent way of governing and running a particular agency. So we've enrolled into this to institutionalize a lot of the reforms that we wanted to undertake. No, it's our way of at least institutionalizing and leaving a long-term legacy to the bureau, so that yung mga susunod ho na papasok sa dito, hindi naman lahat kami mariretain dito, no? A lot of us are presidential appointees, even the career people who are here, right, like me. We've already moved forward to the stage where we're all presidential appointees already. And if and when the next administration choose to bring in another leadership, there will be a solid foundation on what has been done and what can be continued, no, to sustain the reform agenda of the Bureau of Customs.
Okay.
So for all three stages of that, we've got a Gold Trailblazer Award. I think no other agency has done that. Yes, no other agency has done that, and we're trying to set an example. Hopefully, we get the final Gold Trailblazer in our institutional Revalida. So yun. I think all our figures for this year are up. Collection, not just in the formal entry, but in all aspects of the other non-traditional sources of revenues are up. Our performance indicators are up. So this coming year, we're focusing on concentrating on sustaining this, and of course, we're preparing ourselves for the transition already. We want to transition to make the transition to the other administration as smooth as possible, and we want them to be able to get a feel and understand in a very easy way, and without having the difficulty of the usual issues that you confront during transitions, yung mga kailangan nilang gawin dito sa Bureau.
Mhm. Oh, congratulations on that. So just a quick question lang, and then I'll turn it over to our reporters here. Because we're seeing all over the world, there's problems with port congestion brought about by the COVID situation. So what you're saying is what's the situation in Manila? I mean, you seem to be saying everything is okay. So we should be happy, and we should expect our balikbayan boxes to arrive on Christmas or before Christmas this year.
In terms of balikbayan boxes, wala kaming problema. Wala tayong problema dito sa Pilipinas, no? Ang problema
Okay.
natin, I
Sa
think
US,
what has been flagged is, I
Yeah.
think there has been an effect of right now, especially those that would be coming in from Europe and US, they're all scrambling because of Omicron, no? I don't know what operational issues that would bring in, no, to the consolidators there. But as early as I think November, the shipping lines has already, I think, issued a statement that there might be some difficulties meeting schedules, no.
Yeah.
But as long as those shipments arrive in the Philippines, we're pretty sure that we're able to release it
on
as
time.
fast as we can,
Yeah.
on time. Expect lang na kapag hindi talaga dumating, baka mangyari na tulad ng mga previous
Kaya
issues in the
bibintang.
pandemic. Yung iba umaabot ng Valentine's Day, kawawa naman. Yung mga pamasko.
So si William, I think William has some questions on the modernization. William, go ahead. William naman, no?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nabanggit mo kanina that Customs Bureau has an $84 million loan for modernization. Kasama ba rito yung automation? Yan ang primary focus ng loan.
Yes, yung automation at least nung CPS, nung Customs Processing System. So we're going to replace the E2M system already. Yun yung current namin yan, yung E2M. No? Ang goal is to modernize it and create a new Customs Processing System.
But recently, Commissioner Guerrero was summoned by the court for not implementing the modernization project. Can you explain about this?
I think that was nagkaroon kasi ng issue kami way back 2012, 2013, I think. No? There was also a plan when the National Single Window Program was actually conceptualized, there were two phases to the National Single Window. The first phase was to actually open up the entire Bureau's process to a single window where we can admit issuance of permits and then validate them in a single window platform. The second phase will integrate this to our E2M platform. Meaning, doon mo na din pwedeng i-clear yung pag-submit mo ng mga permits mo, kapag nakalink din sa E2M namin, makiklear na namin instantaneously. Hindi na kami kailangan lumipat pa ng sistema. Ang nangyari kasi doon nung wala pang first phase and second phase yung wala pang second phase yung single window, nung first phase pa lang, ang nangyayari, titingnan mo ngayon dito sa isang computer system mo, which is the National Single Window, yung submission, and then pupunta ka ngayon sa ibang computer system mo, which is the E2M system na ginagamit sa pagproseso. At doon mo ngayon, doon ka pa ngayon mag-aaral at titingnan. Tapos walang linkage. As examiner, ikaw ngayon magsasabi na nakita ko sa single window, which is not good because that's very susceptible again to discretion and even a lot of
mischief.
Yeah, so kailangan yun ma-integrate mo. Ibig sabihin, pag na-submit mo dito, kailangan yung submission mo dito will have to link to that import entry. And that import entry will automatically recognize that there was a submission of an agency of a permit. So yun yung phase 2. Ito ngayon yung sinasabing nagkaroon ng court case because I think there was an issue with then Commissioner Sevilla and Commissioner Lina as to the winning bidder, no, OmniPrime. Ang problema, sa sobrang tagal ma-resolve ng issue legally, nakapag-move forward na kami kasi wala kaming choice eh. Kailangan namin, otherwise, hindi natin mamimit yung mga international commitments natin. Like for example, we're integrating with ASEAN right now for an ASEAN-wide electronic exchange of certificates of origin kasi may mga trade agreements tayo sa kanila eh. Hindi na bawal na yung mga CO na manual, gusto nila electronic na. And that particular platform is part of the single window too. Eh dahil nga may problema pa noon, tapos under pressure na tayo this past few days na magkaroon past few years na magkaroon ng single window platform, the Department of Finance needed to come up with an independent platform, which is now the TradeNet. So yun yung naging issue namin, no? Hindi naman sa ayaw namin i-implement yung etong sa OmniPrime na mayroon ng desisyon yung korte. Number one, wala kaming yung pondo namin, itong pondo kasi ng World Bank, very specific yung pinaglalaanan. Hindi namin pwedeng sabihin sa World Bank, dito mo dalhin kasi hindi naman yung purpose. Ngayon yung pinaglalaanan talagang budget nito na ibalik na yata namin sa if I'm not mistaken baka naibalik na namin sa DBM, no, sa National Treasury. So I think there's going to be a discussion now on how to move forward with the OmniPrime issue. We're not saying that we're not going to implement it, but I think we just need to tweak a little bit the service that is going to be provided, and we need to sit down with them and maybe repropose, depending on the tenor of the new project with OmniPrime, based on the Supreme Court decision. Upuan ng mga legal service person namin kung ano talaga gagawin sa amin. Pero let me just be clear about this, that the Commissioner and the Bureau of Customs does not have any intention, no, to violate any legitimate order by the courts. Whatever the order is by the Supreme Court, we will abide by it, and we will report to the courts whatever the current situation of the Bureau now, and whatever it is that we can do to accommodate that particular order without any detriment, to the national interest and the interest of the public.
Is there a timetable, Commissioner, kung sa implementation is? I know you said the budget has some challenges to you, but given all those challenges, meron na bang na-set na date na when it can be?
Dahil siguro puno yung programa namin ngayong taon na to, baka by January we'll sit down with maybe with OmniPrime, our legal people might sit down with them, and of course the Commissioner will discuss it, and we'll seek clearance from DOF on what to do with this.
William?
Commissioner, as far as I can remember, the automation of customs started way back to the time of Commissioner Parayno. The goal of every new commissioner that comes in and out is always full automation. But in fairness to Commissioner Guerrero, it's only during his time that the Bureau has fully moved forward to nearing the full automation of customs. Ano bang dahilan bakit hindi pa makapag-fully automate ang customs? May mga speculation na ngayon na talaga sinasadya daw, ayaw i-fully automate dahil sa kung ano-ano, dahil sa corruption or something like that. Pwede ba paliwanag mo sa amin, Commissioner?
Well, actually, ang dami na namin nagawa to fully automate a lot of our processes. Kaya lang ang expectation kasi sa amin is to automate it at once, no, isang bagsakan. I think we realized early on during the administration of Commissioner Guerrero na for us to be able to succeed in this automation, kailangan tingnan namin yung mga proseso namin at kung ano yung pwede namin in-automate na namin. Like for example, during the pandemic, sinubukan namin tong pinag-iisipan na namin dati pang magkaroon ng customer care portal, no? Hindi ka na kailangan pumunta dito, submit mo na lang online yung iyong mga official documents through PDF form. And then we will create an automatic ticket, electronic ticket that will cover that particular transaction. At dun sa ticket na yun, may thread. Doon na lang kayo mag-uusap nung examiner namin. Hindi mo na kailangan pumunta dito sa peer para makipag-usap. You can just do it electronically. And that electronic thread, nare-review pa namin. No? Kung may mga anomalous transactions, may pagkakamali yung mga tao namin. At so for transparency purposes, meron nun. So nagawa na namin yun. Of course, ang expectation is to be able to submit yung mga documents, no. Ito mga automation na to, may mga subjects na to tweaks and improvements. Like for example, dito sa aming customer care portal, of course, sasubmit namin ngayon yung electronically masasubmit mo yung through PDF form yung mga supporting documents mo. But there's also a rule that even after ma-release mo na yung shipment mo for purpose of liquidation, kailangan mo isubmit yung manual copies pa rin sa bureau. Now, the next phase, of course, is to do away with that submission, no, and electronically verify already the documents. And yun nga ang sinasabi namin, no, single window can do away with that because a lot of the permits that sometimes are being submitted manually can be done through electronically. And that the record keeping, of course, is also can be done electronically. Na hindi mo na kinakailangan pang mag-resubmit. So yun pa lang, makikita mo na napakalaking step to move forward, no. On an automation project, that the goal is to stop the face-to-face transaction between our examiners and our people with the transacting public. So dito pa lang sa customer care portal system, that is already has been significantly reduced, no? Kasi wala na talaga eh. Hindi mo na kailangan pumunta dito para mag-file ng entry mo, para mag-submit ng dokumento mo. Pag ginawa mo yun, hindi na tatanggapin ng sistema namin. Ang tatanggapin lang namin yung sinubmit mo electronically. But interconnection remains to be a problem. Those are two separate programs, and hopefully the modern customs processing system will be able to integrate all of those. So when we say that there's a percentage that we've already automated, it just means that there are some issues on interconnectivity and some issues on convenience, no, in terms of validation that needs to be tweaked and needs to be improved. But major issues that the issue on automation wants to confront and wants to solve, unti-unti na naman namin nagagawa. Yun naman yung ginagawa namin. I think kung bakit nag-succeed, hindi naman nag-succeed, but kung bakit medyo talaga nakapag-move forward kami dito sa aming attempt, no, to automate a lot of our processes. Ano yun eh, number one, yung political will din syempre ng ulo namin. I mean, si Commissioner talaga, pag sinabi niyang gawin mo eh. Siguro yun ang attitude ng military at saka ng former chief of staff. No? He expects results. Number two, let me just thank also each and every commissioner that has done his part, that has done his step to move forward. To make this all possible. Alam mo, hindi naman kami darating sa puntong to kung wala kaming pinagsimulan din eh. And nire-recognize naman ng administrasyon ni Commissioner Guerrero na tiningnan namin yung mga nagawa ng mga previous commissioners at yung magaganda doon talagang natuto kami at tiningnan namin kung ano yung pwede namin i-adopt. And let me just say it again, each and every commissioner that has attempted and made known his intention to actually move forward to automate the Bureau of Customs has contributed in one way or the other to make positive steps to move forward. No, naabutan na lang namin yung mga steps na yon, pinulot namin, ni-recognize ni Commissioner Guerrero at kung ano pa yung kinakailangan gawin, yun ang ginawa niya. So hindi lang naman yung automation namin, hindi lang naman ang recognition nito dito sa current administration, ni-recognize naman namin. We'd like to thank, of course, the previous commissioners. Meron din magandang idea si Commissioner La Peña, Commissioner Faeldon, Commissioner Lina, Sevilla, even Commissioner Biazon, who really was one of the IT persons who wanted to push this forward. And even Commissioner Boy Morales, who started E2M, had major contributions to this one. Hindi ka makakarating dun sa, alam naman natin na kapag ganito kalaking proyekto, pag walang maliliit na steps forward yung mga predecessors mo, ang hirap mong jump ng ganung kalayo. So we do recognize that. But let me just also say that really, the sheer will of the Commissioner of Customs now made this all possible. And of course, we have a very competent Deputy Commissioner for MISTG. Alan Geronimo, I mean, I think he's one of the most underrated deputy commissioners of the bureau, and he really knows his stuff. And if you just look at how he was able to find solutions, no, to the programs that the commissioner wanted, I mean, talagang hahanga ka rin dyan sa boss, sa isa ng kasamahan namin.
Commissioner, how far is Customs from achieving full automation?
Wow. Significantly, no? At least to get to that significant level of automation, I think you just need to give us another 2 to 3 years. When a substantial portion of these modernization projects can be seen and can be felt already.
Okay. Can I bring in my other reporter, si Christian Maghanoy, covers PNP and DND. I think he has some questions naman on siguro smuggling and particularly he's been doing a series on the drug war. Christian, you want to ask your questions?
Sir, thank you po, Sir Kling. Hello po, good morning po, Sir Vincent Maronilla. Ako po si Christian Maghanoy. Yes po, reporter of the Manila Times. Sir, nakapanayan po namin si General Guillermo Eleazar bago siya tumakbo bilang senador. Gayon din po si Dangerous Drugs Board Chairman Secretary Catalino Coy. Pareho po sila ng concern ng approach para sa drug resilient 2022 against the supply and demand of illegal drugs sa bansa. So, nabanggit po nila na pareho na malaki yung role ng customs para dito since your agency is manning all the entry points of shipments. Sir Vince, what's preventing the DB and BOC from achieving this goal of the drug codes against the illegal supply and demand of drugs?
Christian, if you look at the recent apprehensions of PIDEA and PNP in the Bureau of Customs, especially that occurred in Zambales, no? Nakita mo naman kung paano na nila pinapasok.
Major seizure, yeah.
Yeah. Pinapasok nila yan through through our open waters already. It's not already through the Bureau of Customs. In fact, itong seizure na sinamahan namin ng PIDEA at ang PNP dito sa Zambales, naka-float na lang yung nasa laot na lang, isa sa mga private ports na walang bantay ang bureau at wala rin nakabantay na kahit sino. Doon na lang sa mga yon o kaya doon sa mga open waters at sa mga entry points na talagang hindi natin nababantayan at wala kasi tayong port doon. Doon na nila ngayon pinapasok yan. Ang ginagawa nila, pinalulutang, may mga flotation device sila kung saan nilalagay ito at may mga maliliit na barko na kumukuha nito. No? And if you look at the latest seizure in Zamboanga that was done through that particular scheme, napaka-substantial nung amount na pinapasok. So I think there needs to be a realization that smuggling of illegal drugs, hindi ko naman sinasabing baka totally wala na dito sa amin, no? Pero yun ang data namin mahigpit naman yung panghuhuli namin. Hindi lang siguro dapat natin tinitingnan yung paano namin ginagawa, paano namin binabantayan. But I think it should be an effort by the entire government, no, to look at other avenues that it might be being brought in and smuggled. Ang tawag ito outright smuggling, and we need the cooperation of the Philippine Coast Guard and the Philippine Navy for this month already, because yung mga yan talagang wala naman kami bantay dyan kasi walang ports yan. Ang mga bantay lang namin are within the ports that are being manned by the Bureau. Nevertheless, we've already purchased speedboats and re-strengthened our water patrol division to aid in this particular campaign already also.
Commissioner, yung what we found out from those interviews, una-una daw, what the DDB is seeing, puro finished products na dumarating. And then also what we saw from other interviews, they're now arriving in bigger bigger bulk daw because siguro COVID, hindi na pwede yung smaller shipments. Parang one time, big time usually yung mga ano. What are the other trends that you are seeing? And do you also notice changes because of COVID in the way illegal drugs have been smuggled? What do your reports say? Ano? May mga pagbabago ba sa, I guess, in their tactics in delivering or smuggling those items?
I think that they're resorting now to that nga, no? Open sea smuggling for at least yung mga shabu, no? Yung mga items na can only be, I mean, needs to be imported in bulk. That's the only way that you can import it in bulk. Eh. If you import it in bulk through the ports, that means that there has to be several containers, and there has to be a more sophisticated concealment of that, which is going to be a logistical nightmare and very likely to be apprehended. Now, when it comes to party drugs and the other high-end drugs, we're still seeing a high detection and apprehension in our airports.
What about mga precursors? Kasi that's a little bit challenging, no, Commissioner? Kasi on their own, they're not illegal, right? But they only become illegal if they become used as ingredients in manufacturing drugs. How are we trying to combat those? Not only for the Philippine consumption, no, but because we noticed even before COVID, there were reports that Philippines was being used as a transshipment point for maybe even European or maybe North American market. So what is the program there, Nano?
For precursors, we were cooperating with PIDEA because they're the ones who has the technical capability of determining this. No, so the permits that they issue, I think once we get a hold of it, what we look at are issues of over quantity, and of course misdeclaration of some of these. No, so we're very much, concerned also, and there's a special tactic, no, in trying to concentrate on precursors, and our own customs drug interdiction unit is working with PIDEA on this, and as you know, it's not just customs who's already manning our ports now, no. The Seaport Interdiction Unit of the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agencies together with us already, together with the Philippine Coast Guard. So we use their dogs, their drug sniffing dogs, and then we've already gotten a donation also coming from the United States of chemical detection devices, no, that we use very constantly, and these are devices that can detect what kind of chemical really is there when we just simply get samples, no, during our examination. Not to mention that our examinations are already covered by body-worn cameras, no, being worn by our examiners. So with that, together with the modern equipment that we've been using and our modern X-ray, and the intelligence information coming from PIDEA and our Regional Intelligence Liaison Office, we're trying to detect not just the entry of finished products, but also, of course, the entry of precursors, because that was the way that they did it.
Right.
For PIDEA, it's both monitoring the entry of which and monitoring the laboratories that are being established in our areas and within the Philippines. Because if there are laboratories, meaning there are precursors coming in. If there are no laboratories, then what we're guarding against are precursors being transshipped to other countries that are going to use them. So that's, I think that's a focus now of our.
What's on your radar? Because we're seeing in the news, diba, in the US and in Europe, there's seems to be like an opioid epidemic. Mainly fentanyl, and then many of the ingredients now are coming from legitimate pharmaceutical companies here in Asia. Some in Asia, some in Southeast Asia, some from China, diba? Is there cooperation on your part with your counterparts in say, US? Parang what's going on?
Yes, especially in ASEAN, no? Kasi in ASEAN, yung malaking portion natin comes from the Golden Triangle.
Yes, yes,
Um,
yes.
yeah, so there is a regular meeting coming from the Customs Law Enforcement Group of ASEAN member states. We're lucky that we've already had good relationships because of the ASEAN integration program. So there's a regular meeting, and then again, we've established a regional liaison intelligence office. No? So there are representatives from each customs organization coming from the ASEAN nations. Even going beyond that, even on a regional level with New Zealand, Australia, Korea, and Japan, being a member of which, and we constantly exchange information. In fact, most of our interdictions come from information coming from Malaysia, coming from Thailand, coming from Singapore, coming from Japan, and even coming from China. No,
Yeah.
not just with finished products, but even precursors. Yes, I agree. Fentanyl, toluene are still some of the major precursors that we're guarding against. But the list, I think, according to PDEA, has widened a little bit, and I just can't say what's with the other list, but because they're keeping this operationally confidential. But
Yeah.
there are methods now of actually extracting precursors mixed with other finished
Legitimate
products.
finished products. Wow.
Yes, yes. So
Parang reverse engineer nila.
yes, that's how we're guarding against. If you look at the U.S., cocaine can now be integrated in shirts, diba? There's a way
Yes,
of
yes.
actually just diluting shirts and they get in the cocaine. So I think those modern techniques being employed by drug syndicates are also being studied by PDEA, and the Bureau continues to.
Well, last follow-up na lang, Commissioner, before I go back to Christian. In the US also, we're seeing that a lot of the opioids, such as even some party drugs, are being sent through like the courier service, US Postal Service. Do you see that also happening here? Are you working with Philippine Postal Corp on maybe trying to monitor, illegal drugs coming through the mail? Meron ba tayong ganong problem at all, or is that strictly an American problem?
Oh, we have.
Oh, we have. Okay.
Yeah. If you look at our interdictions, karamihan sa airport, and these are party drugs, and the more expensive ones, no, are being shipped to the airports. And let me just commend, and then I was district collector of NAIA once, and we have the same guy from PIDEA who's been there for the longest time, si Gerard, no, and then this guy is really very good, and even the NBI people and the PNP Tech people, they're assigned at the airports. I'd like really to commend them. The Bureau heads the interagency task force on illegal drugs in the airports, no. And let me just say that we could not have done these interdictions without the very competent people from the other agencies. And they've been really doing very well. Up to the point nga, we had some experiences that even if there are very small intelligence information, they act on it. To the detriment sometimes of a small number of passengers, no? Kasi minsan we really have to be sure. We just need to apologize to them if we were able to disturb some of their processing times, no? When coming into the Philippines. But we're very proud of our drug interdiction unit at the airport. If you look at our press releases and our reports to the public, we've apprehended so much from this effort. Unfortunately, I think the international mail courier service will continue to be seen as an easy way of bringing in. Maybe because as a matter of principle, there might be some people who have apprehensions, no, of scrutinizing personal items from coming, di ba? So ano yan, natural way of dealing with personal items, so nahiya ka, di ba, to look into it. That's why we've equipped our people also with the right equipment, so that they don't need to actually be too invasive in examining personal items.
Christian, you have some follow-ups?
Yes, sir. Sorry. Sir, nabanggit niyo po yung mga tungkol sa mail. Kasi po, last time, kinausap ko po yung sa PhilPost. Tinatanong ko po sa kanila kung meron sila mga nare-receive na mga mail na merong drugs sa loob. Dito po ba sa BOC, meron tayong mga reports or kung sakali man na meron pong reports na ganito, how much drugs po yung estimated na meron dito na coming from abroad na
May figures ba, Commissioner?
Yes. Although collectively medyo malaki siya, no? Mas malaki pa rin syempre yung mga nahuhuli namin to our seaport interdiction, but substantial din dito, no? Sa NAIA,
Really?
because
Talaga? So,
I mean at a certain point we apprehend especially ecstasy, no? I mean really. Because I think it's the sale and the use of this, I think even during the pandemic, no, has been
so mostly party drugs ang dumadaan sa
party
mail?
drugs and hemp and marijuana continues to be
Also,
a regulated
okay.
product. So, yeah. Especially the liquid form, the one that's being placed on vapes.
Yung the oil, yung...
Yes.
Has that been a problem? Has that been a problem because you see in the US they're now legalized? And of course,
Correct.
it's not.
Correct.
Diba? Is it become a bigger problem now because other countries, particularly the US, has legalized it?
It's not a problem of interdiction, I think, no. It's a problem of sometimes there are may mga kababayan tayo that thinks that they don't know technically what these products are. They try to bring it in because of the things that they read about.
It's illegal where they come. It's legal where they come from.
Yes. I'll give an example. A lot of sometimes you bring in tablet forms or gummy forms of marijuana,
Yeah.
which are used now medicinally in other states, and they're perfectly legal, diba?
Yeah.
And you don't know the scientific name of these. You just know the street name. You don't know the scientific name, and they tell you that mixed with some other ingredients, they tell you that this is good for this and this is good for that, and you just bring it in, and I mean,
yeah.
So that's the issue now that we're being confronted with, and I think PIDEA has seen the need to actually educate our people on this, and we've tried to also ask the U.S. Postal Service and the other postal service that we're cooperating with to inform at least from their end pa lang papunta dito ano yung mga bawal talaga sa atin.
Suspect. Okay. Christian, nakamute ko ulit.
Yes, po. I think Spokesman Vincent Maronilla have answered all the questions correctly. Thank you so much, po.
Okay. William, may follow-up ka pa?
Yung recently, ang customs instrumental sa pag-file ng kaso, drug case, sa tulong ng customs, i-file ng PIDEA against well-known brokers, Robin Taguba at saka si Kimberly, alias Kimberly.
Yes.
Actually, na-freeze yung kanilang mga assets eh. May order ang Court of Appeals. So, on papers, their names does not appear na sila talaga yung mga importers. Meron silang mga ginagamit na mga broker or dummies. So, anong ginagawa ng customs dito? Dahil alam naman ito ng lahat eh. Whether or not their name appears on the papers or not, kilala sila kung sino sila. May mga iba pa bang brokers na nasa radar ngayon ng customs sa mga ganong bagay about drugs?
Yes, not just drugs. Even as you know, smuggling has been in the amendment of the anti-money laundering law. Smuggling is now a predicate crime. So, pag nakakahuli kami ng mga nakakasuhan namin and may mga violation ng customs law, automatic binibigay din namin yung mga pangalan sa Anti-Money Laundering Council for their profiling. And for the identification of possible personalities that might be linked to money laundering activities. So marami pa rin kaming tinitingnan together with the Anti-Money Laundering Council. Meron na kaming MOA with them, and the enforcement group and the intelligence group has also formed a subgroup together with the AMLC to be able to follow up on these kinds of operations and identify other personalities that might be involved in smuggling as a predicate crime for anti-money laundering.
Thank you.
Okay, well, Michelle, thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mano.
Baka gusto nyo, you want to have a final message to, kasi we'll come out with a video and in addition to the stories, di ba? Baka gusto mo bumati sa mga viewers namin. Tsaka wish them Merry Christmas from BOC.
Yeah, of course. Again, Merry Christmas to all our friends in the media. No? Again, I'd like to thank the Manila Times for this particular opportunity. The commissioner would have wanted to do this on by his own, but it's his birthday.
Oh,
So,
give him our best wishes.
Thank you. And again, I'd like to thank the public, no, especially our stakeholders, no, in the recent survey that we've conducted on satisfaction survey, because we wanted to know our position. We really had high ratings coming from our stakeholders. Of course, the public is a different battlefield, no. If you've not transacted with the Bureau and you've had this impression with the Bureau for the longest time, we understand where the public is coming from. And we hope that through our sustained efforts, we'll be able to prove ourselves and improve our image to the general public and build a trustworthy and a more positive image to the Filipino people. But again, we'd also like to support them for at least listening to us, looking at our social media pages, looking at reading our press releases, being informed about what the Bureau has been doing, and taking time to look at them. And we assure them that we're going to continue with this. And we're very hopeful that the next administration will continue with these reforms towards a better cause. I would like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, Manila Times. And let's hope for a better new year and the peaceful elections next year.
Thank you very much, Assistant Commissioner Vincent Jet Maronilla. Maraming salamat po.